Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to our dining room, living room, kitchen area. Everything is very open concept here. And I've been utilizing the entire space in the past 2 days already, as you could have recognized in the intro of this video, because I was busy working in the evening. I was painting some wood, I was cutting, I was gluing and hammering and everything. Prepared already a little bit because I just couldn't hold back. I really wanted to start with this. I was so excited about it. And for those of you who already follow my channel for quite a while, you might have an idea of what today's video is about because I've already announced it in one of my previous videos. And it is this typical momentum of like, once I verbalize something, the idea is like concrete in my head, and then I feel so excited about it that I just need to do it and tackle it immediately. And this is exactly what I've done. I've done my research straight after I said it, basically. So what I'm going to do today is I will give this house a house number. I've had a couple of years where this house had no house number, no nothing, to the great excitement of all delivery guys, basically, because every single time one of the delivery guys comes, they always have a comment for me like, well, you don't have a house number. I'm like, well, surprise, surprise, I know that I don't have a house number. But to be fair, it's not very difficult to find us here, because how this road works is we're on top of a dike, and on one side there's a river, and on the other side there is one lane only of houses, and our neighbors, they do have a house number. So logically thinking, that means like if they are that number, the next one might be ours, basically, and that's exactly how it is. I mean, so far nothing got lost, but I still think it's a nice thing to have a house number and also to make something nice and visually pleasing out of that. So I think this is also why it took me quite a while really to find something. Honestly, in the beginning I thought I'm just going to do something and just put it outside on the house and attach it there, but then I always started thinking of like, oh, is that really the style? Does that fit? A lot of the house numbers, they were too modern, where I was like, well, they're kind of like if you have like your modern bunker house, basically, like one of these cubes, then it's probably like nice on there. But this house, it's like, I don't know, for some reason the house and the architecture reminds me a lot of like America in a way. It's really hard for me to nail it down what it is. It's something like Northern American in a way, Northeast coast, I suppose. It has this like seaside feel to it. I mean, obviously we are at the seaside. We're at the Baltic Sea, and this is also where we chose all of these like light kind of washed out colors. Like the house is painted in a light gray. All the windows are framed with white paint, and the roof has like really dark gray shingles on top of it. And underneath there's like some wooden parts. It's also painted very dark gray. So this is kind of like the color palette. And in my mind, sometimes it reminds me a little bit of like Long Beach or Hamptons or something like this. Maybe this is why I sometimes struggle a little bit like with finding the right things here in Europe, because I have a very particular idea on how it should look like in my mind, and this is very much Americana, and I know I would find the perfect thing probably if I was somewhere outside of New York, but I don't necessarily find it here sometimes. Sometimes TK Maxx is great though for finding the right things, I have to say, but not always. So this is what it really took me a long time to think about it, and then I forgot about it for a couple of years. I would say that we don't have a house number, but since I was just talking through the entire style of the house and everything, I thought, okay, what I'm going to do? Do I want to build something and attach it to the house, or do I want to do something different? And I decided to do something different, because how the property works is an area that I haven't shown you before. Really is like there is a gate, and then there's a road, and between the gate and the road there is still like a little strip, basically like a green strip behind the hedge, where we still have a little bit of a driveway, and that is kind of like a neglected area. There is not really anything going on, and apparently more than half of it officially still belongs to our property, which came a little bit as a surprise to me. So I was like, why don't we utilize it then? But okay, if that is how it works on the entire road, this is how it works. But what I anyways already anticipated on doing is to plant up the area, at least next to the little driveway that sits in between the road and the gate. So just to make it a little more inviting in a way, because so far there is nothing, and I kind of feel like it's like the gate opens and then you're like in the garden. And I just want to make sure that it feels a little more connected and kind of like a little planting appetizer almost, that to really use some of my favorite perennials that I grow in the garden, kind of like an appetizer of like the colors that I use in the garden. Use some, I don't know, evergreens, so have like lovely winter structure in there, and some spring bulbs and tulips and all the beauty. So like already when you arrive at the house, when I arrive at the house, when guests arrive at the house, that there's this warm welcoming basically. And I thought, since I want to plant up a little area there, I want to build basically the house number as a little sign that sits really in there, like nestled within the entire planting. And that is why I decided to build something mainly out of wood, kind of really like a sign actually, that I can just anchor in the ground in there and really use all the colors that are in the house. So really I was utilizing a lot of white, light gray and dark gray for the numbers as well. So I can just show you how far I came already. So I already built this wooden board, kind of like the structure here. And this is like the backdrop where the numbers will go on. And I'm going to talk you through in a moment what I did already. But I think color-wise, I'm really pleased with this already. And also in terms of the look, I think it really speaks like seaside to me for some reason. Because I was using these like thin wooden boards here, painted them just in a light gray paint that sinks almost into the wood. So you really get to see all the structure and everything of it. So I'm very happy with how that looks. And what I also try to do is make it look kind of like clean-ish in a way. So there are no nails, no screws, no nothing at the front. So I was using nails like from the back basically. And before I applied these wooden panels here, I glued them on. So I found a special glue that kind of glues everything together apparently, according to the label. And then I did a research quickly and the reviews were really good. That works amazing also for the outside. And that's why I'm quite confident. So I already prepared it now so it can dry off properly before I continue working. Also, like this is also why I started like painting everything, because the paint just needs to dry for a proper 24 hours before I can continue. And that is why I couldn't do everything in one day. It just really needed to have like a little bit of preparation before I could really talk you through and just show you everything. And I think this is a nice stage also to show you, because before I would have just shown you like raw wood basically, and that doesn't excite anybody, at least it doesn't excite me. One quick thing to say is like I am not a trained handyman or anything. Whenever I do projects like these, this is like how I feel comfortable doing it. And I don't even do a plan or anything. I don't sketch anything. Like in my mind, I did a research and I know how it should look like and how I want it to look like. And then I just drive to the hardware store and could spend happily 2 hours in there, gather all of my materials, and once I'm in there, I just start like putting it together, and in my mind, I assemble it and feel like how it should work. So I think I have all of the materials that I need to have for today's project, hopefully, because I really would love to finish it off today, basically. And then, obviously, we're in the midst of winter, so I can't do any planting really there. So the big planting part is going to come at one point later on in the year. But I hope that I can already put it outside. At the moment, we still have frost, so the ground is frozen. But the forecast tells me that there are a couple of days without frost. So at one point, the ground should be all right. Because at the moment, I need a jackhammer to get in there. It's like really mission impossible, totally. So I'm really, really hoping actually that this is going to come true. So at least I can put it in there and anchor it and just show you how it's going to look in the ground. Otherwise, at the end of the video, I'm just going to show you now how the final product looks for now, and then I'm just going to put it in the garden shed, probably on the garage, and then it sits there up until the point where I can really put it out there on the road. But I'm excited. And what I want to do now is flip the phone and just talk you through in detail like what I've done already and how I want to continue. So on a glance, this is basically everything that I've prepared so far, and I'm quite good into today's project. So what I want to do first is just show you what I've already done and talk you through a little bit. I have the phone in my hands, which means it might be a little shaky. I try my best that it's not. So this is basically the entire like backing for the house number, how I envision it. So what I used is like down here, there is a wooden board. So everything is hardwood. And then I painted it all the way around in white with a color that works for the outside. So there are like 3 thin layers on there. And then I have these ledges here that I also painted white all the way around. And then I came in with my saw and just saw it on a 45-degree angle so that they can fit nicely together here in the corners. Then I just used the glue, glued the ledges onto the board. And then now I try to show you from the back basically what I did. So here you go. Here you can tell there are some, oh, the camera. Well, you might see a little bit, I hope. There are some nails in there, so I nailed it from the back so that they are really properly attached and they won't fall off, hopefully. So this is what I did. Then I have these kind of like thinner ledges here that I have painted in a really nice light gray color. And as you might see, you still get to see the structure and all the texture that is in the wood. I think this is super pretty. And I really wanted to have these like high-low effects and these tiny gaps in here even. So it kind of looks a little bit like a beach walk. That was kind of my inspiration for this. And what I'm going to do next then is I'm going to come in with the numbers. So these are our house numbers. So it really combines all the colors that are going on in our house actually. So here we go. There is a white, the light gray, and the very dark gray. So I'm going to attach those to the board as well, and I will glue them to the board, because how they work, I mean, that is honestly the funniest thing I've ever seen. There is like, you screw here and a screw in there. So you should put 2 screws, like one here and one there, into the board, and then you should screw this in like this. But can somebody tell me how this is supposed to work? You don't press it in there. This is what I thought. This is also like for a screw. So, I mean, I can just screw in one screw, but then the second one, I can't just, that doesn't work. The product designer, whoever came up with that idea, clearly never used his own product ever. Or maybe I'm just too dumb and you can explain me what I'm doing wrong here, but okay. I'm going to use my super glue for this project as well. Now to the interesting parts. So I have these beams here, 2 of them, and this is where I will attach the board on basically. So these here on both sides, this is basically where it stands on or sits on. And then I will use these here kind of like in between to have a good distance. So one at the bottom and one behind the board, so that they are kind of, everything is kind of like fixed together pretty well, I hope. And then this will also be the end of it. So the entire rest of this I will put into the ground. In my idea, what I wanted to have is like, I don't know the English word, I don't even know the German word for it. It's like, there are these like metal things that you can put here with a little spike. So you could, in theory, put it into the ground, but I couldn't find it in this size here. So that is not a thing, so I'm just going to bury it and finger crossed going to work. And then I'm going to build a little bit of a construction. So going to the back basically, kind of like a little triangle that I will attach so that it can't tip over, just as a little support for wind and everything. But this is how the sign is going to look, I think, in the end, and I'm really happy with that. And now envision it with planting in front of it. So it's going to sit a good 70 centimeters, I think, above the soil level. So you can really put in some asters and some grasses in the back and sedums and all of those lovely things that I love to grow, some cosmos. I'm really excited about it. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is I will continue with putting everything together. It's a couple days later and we have no snow, no frost. As you can tell, it's actually quite mild yesterday and today, which means the ground isn't frozen, and that makes it the perfect day to really get out here and install the house number. I can't wait to show you in a second how it looks like. I'm really happy with the outcome. So what I want to do now first is just walk with you out on the street actually, and just show you where I want to position it, how the area is looking, and just talk you through what I'm going to do, get cracking in there. So I think it might take me about 1.5 to 2 hours in total, and I'm going to plant one thing. I couldn't resist. I went to the garden center just yesterday, and the woman in the garden center, she was kind of like, planting still, and I thought like, yeah, I mean, ground isn't frozen, so I mean, why not? If it sits here in a pot outside with you, or if I put it in the ground and mulch it in well, I think it would be happier with me, I guess. So yes, I'm going to plant something in the midst of winter, and I know it's going to work because I've done it in the past already. Because in general, shrubs are quite adaptable, and if you mulch them in well and give it a good home, normally they are happy, they thrive in the second that the temperatures get milder, and this is actually, I always think, a good thing to do anyways. So what I'm going to do now is walk with you outside and show you the situation. So I'm standing on top of the dike now, and I just quickly want to show you how the situation is and where the house actually sits and is located. So I think it's also interesting for you. Can tell Alfie is just behind the gate. So yeah, this is our driveway. I already put the house number where it should belong, and I'm just going to flip around or swing around like a 360 so you get to understand and see everything better. So this basically is the road, and it's just like one straight road on top of a dike actually. So you can tell on one side, if I come in with my finger, there's a road, and this here is our brand new bike lane or sidewalk actually. So this is also where I take Alfie for a walk in the evening. There's a river, and at the end, not sure if you can really tell it. I don't think you can really tell. This is where the river ends into the Baltic Sea. So we are very, very close to the Baltic Sea, and this is also where the cold, frosty winds are coming from quite often. So if I just swing around, this is the beautiful view that we get to enjoy from the top balcony, which I really enjoy. Absolutely beautiful. And then again, just a straight road, just a lane of houses, and then here comes our hedge again. So this is the big hedge in front of a garden which protects us from all the strong winds and everything picking up in winter especially. So yeah, what I want to do now is just give you a closer look at the area and talk you through what I intend on doing there. So this is a driveway that leads up to our house, and there you get to see the gate and everything. And you might tell that I already started planting up this area a while ago. So I put in some sedums and some phlox that I just took from cuttings basically, but then I haven't really done a lot to it, to be fair. So there's a lot of weeds growing in here, and you might tell that the soil condition is not the best. It is really yellow and really sandy. So you really need to get in there and tackle that. But let me just show you first how the house number looks like. So this is the final product actually, and I'm very happy with that. So just if we give you a closer look, I think it's really cute how everything looks together. Like the wood, you can still see the wooden structure, which I really enjoy, even after painting it. So really just applied like thin and thin layers of the paint. And how this is going to work now. I have this bottom part here, and all of this will be buried into the soil, and then I intend on putting some stones in the ground as well, so that like this backside here sits on top of the stones, so that it doesn't rot that fast, and maybe I still manage to get something to protect this. I need to do some research how I can maybe just protect this a little better. But then you can tell already what I'm gonna plant with you today. So I bought another rhododendron. This is the exact same variety that I used in my staging project at the main entrance, where I potted up a rhododendron with you guys, and I think it's so beautiful. Really love the leaf variegation and everything. So I think it's just a nice idea to maybe have one of those here as well. So what I'm going to do really is get in here, remove all of the weeds and the grass growing in here, and then also for the rhododendron just change that soil and just manipulate a little bit so it sits like in the soil condition that rhododendron needs, because this is not what we are having here. But I think if you imagine that our car is coming, so I just need to go aside now. If you just imagine how this is going to look in the future, if I just put some asters here in the front of it, and then maybe some eucharis as another layer here, do a little bit of like a stone etching maybe here just to frame everything, and then some grasses behind the sign, maybe miscanthus, calamagrostis. I think this is going to look so nice and going to be so welcoming. Really just like wants to invite you to get into the house and explore the garden and everything. So what I'm going to do now is just go to the garden shed and get all of the materials and tools that I need for today's project. Speaking of changing the soil, am I in luck, or am I in luck that I have a never-ending source of fresh soil appearing by magic overnight in my garden? I mean, hello? Isn't that great? Now I finally know how I'm going to utilize all of this. So I'm just going to take the sand out at the front and just put some lovely, nice soil from here up in there in the front. And then I can put some nice plants in there. That is definitely a winner-winner situation. For the biggest parts, I'm done for today and I'm really happy with the outcome. So what I did is like really try to improve the soil. I think I put like 4 wheelbarrows full of fresh soil in here, 2 bags of fresh garden soil, really mix it all under a little bit, already start mulching it, put this, the house number in, so really have like some stones underneath here, and then even had like some stones that were kind of just like left on the side somewhere in the garden that I thought, okay, I'm not going to use them in the actual garden, so I could just put them here as kind of like a framing for this bed, and I'm really happy with that so far. I think like also now when the sign is in here, like the size, I can just like envision it better, and I know, okay, I can put grasses in here and like the rhododendron now and some perennials, and super excited about it. So I'm happy that at least I can start planting something today, because otherwise it would feel a little barren maybe just like to have the sign sitting in mulch here. But I'm going to give you a tour in a moment anyways on how everything is looking. So last thing is now I'm just going to plant the rhododendron, and what I did already is like I dug a hole and I had 2 half bags full of rhododendron soil, because rhododendrons require a certain soil condition basically. So when you plant a rhododendron, maybe you just need to think about it like where the mother plants come from or where they originate from. So normally rhododendrons would grow in deciduous forests, which means that for a good part of the day they are sitting in kind of like partly shade. So when you try and find a good location for rhododendron in your garden, try and make sure that it's not double shade but also not completely south facing where it's like really basking in the sun. If it's too shady, then it might not come to flower. If it's too hot, definitely you will see signs of burn at the leaves, and this is not what you want. But this is quite good because it gets morning sun, and then by the around lunchtime, afternoon, then it will be more in a shady condition here, which I think will be quite good for it, which is really good. So when I say it grows in deciduous forest, then you already know what kind of soil conditions it likes, because then it grows in an area with acidic soil because of all the leaves breaking down to... I'm sorry, we're at the road, there are cars coming, this is what it is. I hope the audio will still be all right though. And Alfie's playing on that side, so I'm kind of like, Alfie's there, cars are there, but that's what it is. So yeah, soil condition. They like acidic soil because leaves, when they break down to compost, they create this lovely kind of acidic soil, which is amazing. I don't have anything left anymore because I was using it in all other projects of the garden at the moment. But I still had like some good rhododendron soil that I especially bought for it. Since my soil here is more on the neutral side, I really need to manipulate it and really dig out a bigger hole for it. And the rule of thumb in general is like, just look at the container and it should be triple the size. Well, this is a very, very tiny container, so I made it at least 5 to 6 times the size of it. And rhododendrons have quite compact root systems in the end. They're like, the root ball in general stays quite compact. The roots are very fibrous, and this is why you need to have a special soil. When it's too compact or dense, it does not work. So you need to make sure that it's a very lofty kind of soil. And this is why rhododendron soil is a very special soil. And now on top of it, there's a woman walking on top of a dike staring at me as if I'm a lunatic, but so it is. I can't give a dang about it at this point anymore. So yeah, what I do now is put more of the soil in here. It's sat in the garage for the past couple of days, so I'm not sure if it's frozen or not. It looks quite all right. So one thing you should never do, like if you saw my previous videos, I always kind of normally put like a good handful of bone chips into the planting hole. Because in general, plants really appreciate that, because the bone chips, they break down to nitrogen. Oh yeah, it's a little frozen. But nitrogen is not good for rhododendrons. So really here, make sure that you fill your planting hole with as much of good soil as you can. Okay, I tried to put the big clumps aside maybe for now. Maybe try and break it down a little bit with my shovel. Oh, dang it. I should have just put it the inside maybe for a day. That would have been smart. But you know what? It's going to work. It's just like the few ones that are too big, but the rest is okay. So if you have a rhododendron also in your garden, because I grew up in northern Germany in an area where rhododendrons grow fairly well actually. And my parents, they were sometimes like transplanting them, and even mature ones. Probably they were like 10, 15 years old, I would say. And you could do it easily because the roots are fibrous and because the root ball stays quite compact. So you could tell it can't be pot bound really, because the roots are so fibrous, and I'm not really going to break it or anything. Really going to leave it as it is. Just need to see this is not deep enough. Always plant at dead level, never sitting idle. You really do not want that to happen. So this should be good, I think. Let's always a front and a back to a plant, but I know that this was a front because I already checked it before. Is it sitting idle? No, that is okay. So yeah, all I'm going to do now is make sure that I firm it in well, break these like frozen clumps of soil still, and then I'm going to mulch the last bit of the area, clean up all my mess that is standing behind you, which you don't get to see right now. And then, yeah, I'm going to give you a tour of everything, how it looks. A moment without any cars coming because I'm standing really dead on the road right now, but I just really want to give you a close look on how it's looking. And I think it is really cute. Like already with the rhododendron there, I'm so happy that I purchased that. I think that makes it so much nicer already. And yeah, so the sign doesn't look so lost in here. And just like a close look at the rhododendron, because I think it is really a special variety. I think it was just called variegata, to be honest with you, referring to the variegation that is going on in the leaves. But even the stems, if you look at them, they have this like pinkish reddish tone, so beautiful. Very happy with that, and also like the growing habit, I think it's quite nice. And it should grow about like a meter, maybe a meter and a half in height. Well, I'm quite happy because it's not so overpowering. So if I needed to, I could just like trim it back a little bit. And also the sign, I think like the numbers really looking nice. And if I envision it like with the grasses and asters and everything planted, super nice. One hint of advice, when I put the numbers on, I made sure that the 5 is completely dead in the center, which it is. But obviously, a 0 is so much wider to what a number 1 is, so visually it kind of looks like the numbers are a little bit too much on the right, which is not ideal. It is what it is. But just as a hint of advice, if you're doing something like that, really consider it and think about it. But yeah, I think like once there's a lot of like planting going on here, there's going to be a good distraction actually, and I'm really happy with that. Can't wait to come back and see it. I would love to put some lights or something in here as well. Just imagine some light coming from the bottom. That would be nice. Oh, so obviously one of the next projects will also be trying to tackle this side as well. Just try and make it a little bit nicer and more inviting, because right now, yeah, not the cutest side. I mean, I know it. I already started putting in some sedums here as well. But then some grasses came in, and it's not ideal. I mean, I know it's one of my future projects, something I really want to do, because I really want to make sure, like, once you arrive at the house, it looks also nice and inviting. But I just want to show you one last thing. If you ever wonder how a dog in prison would look like, I have the answer for you. So here you go. Poor little thing. You needed to stay in the garden for the entire day. Can you believe it? But I think she's happy I'm coming in now. Alfie, huh? You want to get a snack? Want to get a snack and you want to get a shower? Oh my God, look at those feet, please. Just take a look at that. It looks like she has like some black leather boots on or something. Why? Alfie, why? You just love to have the entertainment of going to the shower, don't you? Well, this is what we're going to do tonight. That is it for today's video, and what kind of looked like a cute, probably 25-minute video for you guys, in reality was like 3 evenings and a day filling project for me. But I enjoy doing those things because I just love to do these crafty things, even though I'm not like really the handyman, I think. I kind of like wing it. I figure my way on how to do it, and I'm happy with the result. Like, I think in the end it looks really nice and it feels sturdy. It's definitely gonna last there for a good while, I think, and that makes me happy. And also I like to spend my time with her because this is like such an important thing, coming home every single time I got to see this house number now. And yeah, I just want to do something where I'm really happy and confident with, and I am. I can't wait to underplant everything now, spin my head around what I want to do. I'm definitely going to use more plants that sit in the front garden. So it kind of is like this cohesion going on, like from the front garden, just swooping out through the gate, and yeah, just making everything look really cohesive and nice. So I already know what kind of plants I'll be using there, but I love those plants, obviously. So this is a great thing to do. I can tell you what I'm going to do now. I'm going to grab my little cute monster doggy and take her to the shower, because that feet situation scared me a little bit. But yeah, she'd had a jolly good time in the garden, and that is the most important thing, I think. So this is what I'm going to do now. I hope that you have some fun projects going on in your garden, at home, or wherever you are as well. And up until then, have a wonderful day, and I would love to welcome you in one of my future videos. Bye.